Hi, everybody. This is Steve Augeri, and you're listening to the Paulie Z Show.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the Paulie Z Show. This is episode number 34. And today I have a special guest on. He's not only a good friend of mine and a great vocalist, but he was in a few bands that I actually am fans of. And one being the most well-known band is Journey. I'm talking about the guy who replaced Steve Perry in Journey, and with just a wonderful voice, like a voice of an angel. And I'm talking about Steve Augeri.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Hey, everybody, it's Steve. How are you? Steve Augeri.
Hey, Steve Augeri. Is it?
Hey,
wait, hold on.
I'm excited to be on your show. I just heard about your show, and this is very exciting, man.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
My first podcast.
Is it Augeri or am I saying it right?
Yeah,
or is it Augeri?
Americanized, it's Augeri, and the Italians from Sicily say Augeri.
Augeri.
Which actually sounds nicer, but
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody really say it except the Sicilians. And even then you have to risk getting stabbed by a knife or shot by a gun. So I prefer to hear Augeri.
Oh, really? Okay. You don't want it. Okay. Because I was going to be, the one guy in America that would be like, all right, so on my podcast is Steve Augeri.
No, it's fine. Oh, look at you.
Look,
man. You're so continental. Fully continental.
Like the breakfast?
Yes, yes, exactly like
like the breakfast or the airline. You got to be specific. Are you complimenting me or dissing me?
Mr. Continental. What, Mr. Continental, who's that, the Brooklyn actor? You know.
Who?
On Saturday Night Live, Mr. Continental. You
Oh.
name the actor.
Oh,
Maybe somebody on your staff there.
yeah, who's the guy that plays?
Champagne.
Chris Walken.
Thank you very much. Another Brooklynite.
Christopher
I think he
Walken
was, anyway.
is the guy who plays Continental. Man, no, it's terrible. It's terrible. All right, well, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this interview. No pun intended.
Good.
You like that? Yeah, I'm a pro, Steve. I am.
Hey, listen, it was great. I had an opportunity to see you guys play within the last couple of weeks. I hadn't seen you in a while. It was really good to see you guys. You were great.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
Let me just get that out of the way. Let me just pump you up a little bit.
Well, you know what? We can elaborate on this. Hold on, we can spend some time here. This is always my favorite part of the podcast. Well, you actually.
Yeah, I imagine that you're taking a break from your touring, so you're back in New York and you're doing your radio show. I take it.
Yeah, I try to do it like when we're not on the road and we're back. I do it. So I've been pretty consistent because we usually don't play during the week. You know what I mean? We try to go out at the end of the week because that's when the best shows are usually, and then we come back and do whatever we got to do. So I've been pretty consistent for the most part. We've only maybe missed a couple of weeks due to touring and stuff. But you've seen us a few times now, and there was a couple times you actually came up and sang with us, and that was a real treat because you were on. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Steve was on Casino Logic doing background vocals on a handful of songs, and like an angel, really like an angel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no,
it was a blast because we worked with Benny. What was Benny's last name?
Benny Harrison, yeah.
Right.
And Jolyn Turner.
And of course Jolyn, and that was an honor to work with those two guys. One voice better than the next. And
Yeah.
They were great, and it was a charge. I love your style of rock and roll, and as far as you guys go, you're a great bunch of great guys, and so it was a lot of fun.
Well,
it was my pleasure. Shit.
Well, we enjoyed it,
What can I
and
say?
you know what was great about it too is that, and David pointed this out. You came up, you guys had like sort of took our harmonies that we showed you, and then kind of made it your own and said, well, what if we try this? What if we try that? And you did like a higher harmony on the song Ain't It Beautiful that you did live when you sang with us too, that we never did. And now it was so infectious that now actually, I don't know if you know this, but now David does that harmony like towards the end of the song.
I wasn't aware of that, but I'll tell you what, man. David blows my mind because he does have a strong, high, pure voice like that, and he could do. So
yeah,
it's a great asset. He's a great asset.
Yeah, and
Great vocal asset
look at
to
his
have in the
abs. Huh? What Look at those
Oh,
those
did you
stomach
say
muscles.
good look? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very good looking.
Talk
Very
about
handsome. He's a strong and attractive man.
he's more than an asset. He's an abset. Oh, so
Oh,
I'm
look out.
sorry. Yeah. See, I balance one good joke with one terrible one.
As I stick bonbons in my mouth.
So basically,
And,
let me just tell a little bit about you to everybody for those people that might not be so well versed in your career. Like I knew you when we were introduced. I knew that you were in Journey. You had replaced Steve Perry, right? And that was like sort of one of you. Would you say that was maybe your biggest project that you were in to date?
Sure, absolutely. That was pretty much a peak. Everything before and after that is, I had broke into this business back in, well, actually, let's see, 1984 was my big break. I landed a job as a background vocalist for the Michael Schenker group.
Okay.
And coincidentally, I'm going to go see him play in New Jersey tonight. But
you guys still friendly?
well, actually, I only saw him once since I went on the road with him. I saw him, I'm going to say 1991, when we were releasing a Told Stories, my first debut Told Story record. And we met in L.A., and we were watching Spinal Tap perform, which was an amazing, I guess they don't perform very often, and they happen to be performing for this convention or some kind of big radio promotion thing. And so we hooked up then, and we exchanged pleasantries and old stories, and it was great to see him. So tonight I'm going to actually bring my kid to meet him and see him. He's 21 and he's a hard rock fan, and we're going to go and have a good time tonight.
That's the perks of being a rock star. You hook up your kids.
Yeah,
right?
He's I want him to be a doctor or a lawyer, and of course he became a drummer. So go figure.
Well, what do you expect? Well, you know what you should have did? You should have wanted him to be a drummer. He would have became a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah, you'll learn, Paul. You'll see.
So then, so I didn't, Tall Stories was, a project you were in early on, and then, but one thing I didn't know is then you were in Taiketo. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're a fine band too. Told Stories lasted somewhere from the late '80s to the mid '90s, and then I was pretty good buddies with a couple of guys in the band Taiketo, and we wrote a record. They asked me one day to help and to sit down and write some tunes, pen some tunes with them, which was a great blast. We went down to the original Jersey Shore. Back in Belmore, they used to have a big band house, and they used to sleep and rehearse and have it was an amazing band. They really lived it.
Are you the original? Are you the original Situation? Were you creeping on the girls?
I'm the original Schnooky.
Yeah, are you Schnooky? Oh no!
So I went down there for a week or two, I think, and 3 weeks into it, I found myself as a member and singing with them, which was a great time. It lasted a couple of years, maybe a year or two, and it was a lot of fun interacting with creative people, interesting people, and they were a lot of fun. They were not unlike you guys. They have brilliant senses of humor.
Very good looking.
That's what attracted me. I came from a very dark band. Told Stories, we were almost too serious, and we almost took ourselves too seriously. We're artists. And when I joined Taiketo, it was a breath of fresh air. Like the clouds had parted, and we made some fun rock and roll, and that was a lot of fun. It was a good change.
I didn't know about that band until one of the things I do on the show too is like fans email us, and I have a segment with my friend Benny Boy where we do CD reviews, and then we do like lost classics, and he kind of he's one of those guys that like really knows obscure bands that should have been bigger. And one of the bands that when I was reading emails and I was talking to Benny, is like one of a ZO2 fan is like in love with Taiketo. And I never heard of them. And then she goes, I'll make you a mixtape. So she made me a CD, and I got to tell you, I love it. It's like right up my alley. And I was like, oh, this stuff is great. But, so now
finally. Well, they had the original singer, Danny Vaughan, was in fact such a great vocalist. He could have easily stepped into the shoes that I stepped into when I after Steve left the band, Steve Perry left the band, and when it's Journey. Danny had that similar voice, and he could have easily went and stepped in and taken care, filled that role. I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad.
But that's what I
No
was to say,
offense,
but he
Danny.
didn't. But he didn't, and which brings us
but
to so now
but
now all of a sudden you're in Journey,
right.
and that must have been an incredible experience. And how was that like with those guys? Was
Yeah.
that
Well,
fun?
what would happen was after the Taiketo thing ran its course, a couple of years lapsed. I think that was '96 after I sang my last note with the guys. We parted on good terms, and we went our separate ways. And
No pun
I received
intended.
a couple. Yeah, I didn't even want to say that. I'm glad you did.
I caught it.
um, but 2 years afterwards, I received a phone call from. Well, there's a little more to it, but I received a phone call, one from Neil Sean, and then 5 minutes later from Jonathan Cain, and I absolutely didn't believe it. I thought it was a prank call. But a couple of weeks later, after a week worth of rehearsing, 2 weeks of prep and 1 week of auditioning for them, I had landed the gig, and it was it was one of those surreal moments because I had walked away and I was working for I actually took a job with the Gap as a maintenance manager, swinging a hammer, fixing changing toilet bowl seats and fixing light switches and changing light bulbs and things like that. For 30 stores in Manhattan. They have about 30 stores at the time they did.
Well, this is after Taiketo?
Yeah, this is after Taiketo.
Oh,
And
wow, so you thought that was kind of it. It's like, okay.
yeah, you know what? If you can imagine, and I know you can imagine this because New York, as well as the rest of the country and the world, is filled with musicians and music aficionados, and certainly a lot of great musicians and a lot of great singers. And here I was. I had released 2 records, one with Told Stories, one with Taiketo. And I had traveled the world a little bit, and I'd seen, I met a lot of great people along the way and had a lot of great times. And you think, I was well ahead of, the game. And had I walked away, which I had, I would have been, I would have had some great memories.
Right.
And, and I would have felt a great deal of accomplishment.
So no regrets. Like if it ended there, it would have been
no
regrets.
In fact, I tried to tell myself that, and but 2 years later, it was like the Pacino thing, you try to, they pull you back in, and I was glad they did because at the end of the audition, I remember turning to Jonathan and Neil and telling them, I can't say whether I've made the audition or not, but I'll tell you one thing. After not singing it for 2 years, you kind of gave me the spark. You rekindled a flame within me, and I'm going to go back home and sing again. And not to mention, if it doesn't happen, I'll have a great story to tell my grandkids.
Of course. What was the audition like?
Old man.
Give me some detail. What was the audition? What did they make you do?
Well, John had, at the time, they were living up in Marin County, and just north of San Francisco, across the bridge. And he had a wonderful vintage old Neve board. He had a full-blown 24-track studio. And each day, from Monday to Friday, I recorded one of their classical songs. One of their
Wait, you were there for a week with them?
Monumental, monstrous hits. And then after that, we would try to tackle a brand new song they had written. And so we would, see if we had some kind of compatibility there.
Wait, so how long were you with them? This wasn't like one day you walked in and sang a song?
No, it was a 5-day event. Like I said, we recorded one big song a day, and then we worked on brand new material. And then at the end of the week, let's face it, they had worked with, no matter what you think of, or you think of one singer or one artist or another, they had such a great accomplishment with Mr. Perry, with Steve, that it was undeniable that you just couldn't somebody couldn't just walk in and say, you're absolutely in. So they had to not only find out if, they had to find out my table manners, they wanted to know if, just spend as much time with me.
Does he do
musically, but as a person as well?
Yeah, of course. Like, how smelly are his farts? Does he take a number 2 on the tour bus?
I want to know if the 4th or 5th day, if I exploded into,
exactly.
An absolute maniac and, an axe murderer. So the interesting thing about everything went well. The 5 days went well, and I had one foot out of the door at the end of the audition, and I had I guess I mean, today I have to say I had the balls to turn around and say, listen, there's one song I really wanted to sing, and I was hoping you'd get a chance to do it, and it was Open Arms, and I could have easily just, thrown the whole thing down the toilet bowl, but I guess things turned out pretty well, and that may or may not have helped clinch things.
Oh, that you had suggested that, and then they let you sing it.
Yeah, I guess I got a little cocky.
Yeah, sometimes.
But interestingly enough, that was one. As the years went on, and because I sang for them about 8+ years, as the years went on, that one became probably one of the hardest songs to tackle after being on the road for 2-3 months, 3-4 months, keeping your voice in shape and having to sing something that with that kind of command and control that Steve Perry originally did.
You don't got to tell me, my friend, from one vocalist to another, bro. It's like it's a constant challenge. People always credit me, and it's great. And I love it, and that's why I really continue to work hard, because I want to live up to everyone's expectation. But I always get people like, oh, you got great voice, or it's a bulletproof voice, or it's like, even when I'm hurting, and we talked about this, even when I struggle, most people can't tell, and they still think that, you're fine. But I can tell. I'm feeling it. It's physical. It's not like when you play the guitar and you play in the wrong key, it's like, oh, that's embarrassing. It's a physical thing. It's like my throat hurts,
Yeah,
or
and what your fans don't understand, or you can, you can certainly hit them to, is the glamorous life that it looks like. I remember going after a show and seeing, anywhere from 5,000 to 70,000 people. You go off the road, and instead of going out and celebrating and cracking open a bottle of champagne and running around with your friends and your fans and the groupies and this, that, and the other thing, a vocalist has to go in, and he has to go and shut down and hibernate and stay away from that all, because he has to go out and perform again the next day. And so, I like to have a drink as much as the next guy. But when you're on the road, it's like an absolute no-no.
Oh, well, that's what I've been
doing
wrong.
Not to mention great food. I mean, you have to stay away with, wonderful foods. And so...
That's what I've been doing wrong then, Steve, because
It's the life of a monk.
Oh, it's crazy. After a show...
And it got to be such a pain in the ass, when I finally, was removed from the situation. It was a relief, because I went back to my pizza, and I went back to my sausage and peppers, and I went back to all my Italian delicacies, as well as fine wines and really great beer,
So. Well, we're going to get to that too, because this podcast is obviously heavily based on rock and roll and food. So I would love to talk about that, because I have, I get all these different... See, look, I'm you hear that?
Yeah.
That's probably from something I ate. But... there's a lot of, obviously, connection to your diet.
In Yiddish, it's called schmutz, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
But, see, that's the problem I find, too, is that it's always after the show that kills me. It's the late night eating. It's the talking to people afterwards. And I love hanging out with the fans. And I love talking to people. Me, I just don't stop talking. And that's probably the worst for a singer, and in loud environments, it's late night or whatever. And that's... Yeah. It's terrible. Now, so obviously I heard, and I'm sure, it's public record, that there was some question about you having some vocal problems at some point and how you dealt with that. So what's the deal? Yeah, and what is the actual deal with that? Like, was that true, or is that exaggerated just for media hype?
Well, it was a little of everything. What happened was, I don't exactly, I'm going to guess it was actually beginning of 2006. I was actually coming about my birthday. It was falling just a couple of days right before my birthday, end of January. And I found myself in the hospital with an amazingly rare case of pneumonia. And the doctors were scratching their head, and they'd never seen, or it was a very rare strain, and there was infectious disease people scratching their head trying to figure out what kind of pneumonia this was and why. Anyway, long story short is I was in the hospital for about better part of a week, and when I went home, the antibiotics, the medication that they were treating me with, actually had a worse reaction from that than I actually had from the pneumonia. And not to be a downer, and we'll bring the conversation back up, but it literally paralyzed me because it affected my joints. It's called Levaquin, and I don't want to badmouth the drug, but I was taking such high doses to kill this crazy bug that it had a crazy effect on me.
Okay.
So anyway, long story short, it created a condition. It's basically candida is how is what it's pronounced. So it's in layman's term, it's a yeast infection, and it affected my vocal cords. So it was a systemic thing, and it absolutely knocked me out of the box. And we canceled one of the first shows I ever canceled with Journey. We were going to Chile for the first time. The band had never been there in South America, and we had to cancel the show. And from there, I just never really seemed to get my feet back on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like I needed a little bit more time to recuperate. But we started rehearsing. We finished a record. In between this time, we rehearsed, finished a record, went on the road to Europe, rehearsed, and got prepared to do this big 06 tour with Def Leppard, which was going to be, the tour of all tours.
Right.
And we've had great tours.
Well, next to ZO2.
And this is going to be the Mac Daddy for me because I love Def Leppard's rock and roll, and it was just going to be,
But that would have been
mega audiences, mega venues.
That would have been second to playing with ZO2, obviously.
Well, without a question.
Right.
Without being said.
Right.
That day will come, my friend. I truly hope that day comes.
Just checking.
But anyway, long story short is I found myself a week into the tour, and I just wasn't getting better. And we had to pull the plug. Well, it was a mutual thing. The doctors said he's got to stop singing and just zip it. And the band had commitments, and they had a lot of contracts signed and no way out, pardon the pun.
Mm-hmm.
And they were lucky and fortunate enough to find somebody to step in, in the jiffy, and that was Jeff Scott Soto,
right,
who did the tour and finished the tour out with them.
And now they have the other guy, the guy that was in the tribute, or not
and
tribute.
They've got this ridiculous guy by the name of Arnel Pineda,
yeah,
who's absolutely brilliant.
Unbelievable.
And he was a perfect find for them because he's got the voice that is just right for them.
But it's so funny how they find him. Like, it's amazing, the new world, how you can find people like. Because I just had last week. You know who Tim Owens is? The Ripper Owens. He was the guy who replaced Rob Halford in Judas Priest.
Oh, I've heard of him, sure.
Yeah, and they wrote that movie Rockstar based on his story, and he's basically was in a Judas Priest tribute band. And when Halford left, they plucked him out. It's just amazing. Like, if you think 30, 40 years ago, you never would think, no, that would never happen. Now it's like you go online and look on YouTube and be like, okay, Journey, guy could sing like
Google. All you need is Google.
Yeah,
and you just
it's insane.
and you have your guy like that. But ultimately, and I'll say this in all honesty and all truth, is when I had the opportunity, and it was a huge opportunity, and I would have been a fool to turn it down. When I think of my nearest and dearest guitar heroes and rock and roll bands from when I was coming up, and bands, I'm talking about bands like The Who and Led Zeppelin and bands of that classic nature and that stature, I would have never in a million years would have thought anybody would have the gumption and the balls to replace anybody in one of these bands. And so I knew, and I'm sure they knew too, that they were taking a huge risk and taking a shot. And somehow, some way, by the grace of God, God smiled down upon me and gave me the opportunity. And within a few years, things worked out, and it lasted as long as a little over 8 years. And that's a pretty good.
Listen,
something I'm happy about and proud with.
Dude, of course, come on, you can't. I mean, that's the same thing. You got to appreciate what you have and not worry so much about what you don't have. And it's like, it's hard to take your own advice sometimes, because I find myself all the time complaining and be like, we're not playing the Garden, and we're not rich and famous yet, and we haven't sold this out, and we haven't done this, and we haven't done this. And then people come up to me and like, you fucking idiot, you got your own television show, you toured with Kiss. It's like, I would give my arm to live the life you lived. Are you crazy? And
There
it
you
like,
go.
but that's what I mean. Sometimes you need people to remind you of what you have accomplished, because sometimes we get so focused on what it could have been or what it should be, and you lose track of what it was. You know?
Sure.
Yeah. And it's like I've really learned the hard way. I've learned, now to appreciate every single little thing, because it's like those are the things that, you were in Journey. You did it. You fucking
It's hard
did
to
it.
appreciate it when it's happening.
Yes.
It's unfortunate because it's a whirlwind. Half the time you're rushing from here to there, and somebody's pushing one direction, pulling you in another. And sometimes you're incapable. It's impossible. So sometimes you just go for a ride, and you cannot. Sometimes you wake up in the middle of a daydream or a nightmare, and hopefully they're just daydreams, and they're usually in good situations. And sometimes you wake up in a nightmare and you put the brakes on and you stop and you say, whoa, you need to slow down, take a step back. And because the music industry it's always been evolving, but right now it's in turmoil. It's upside down.
It's crazy.
And you just have to be, what you need to be doing is being glad that you're performing, you're singing, you're playing, you're writing music, because that's what got you into it in the first place. When you were 15 and you saw that first that electric guitar that you just had to have in the guitar shop window on 48th Street or something. That.
Well, actually, it was the
and
girls.
You lost your mind.
It was really the girls that got me into it. But anyway, the guitar was cool too.
That's a fact.
It was the girl behind the counter at 48th Street at the guitar store. It wasn't the guitar. It was the girl at the counter.
You know what? It's definitely both.
I know. I'm kidding.
Now, as we're married, that's the last thing you'll ever cop to, though.
Now it is. Now it's all about the food, which brings me into my next segment. And
better food.
Yes, and I want to make sure we can get a little bit of this because we're running out of time. But this is important. Sure. What I'd like to do specifically is usually I ask people about a place that they love to eat, a specific place and what to order. But I think with you, from singer to singer, I'd like to ask you to tell me, you touched upon it a little bit, how you said, you couldn't have pizza and sausage and pepper, whatever. I'd like to tell me what your regimen was, like food-wise. Maybe give me a recommendation of like how to eat on the road to protect my voice, and and what you do. Like what's your recommendation for singers out there?
Well, I'll take here's the bottom line.
Okay.
I've gone to gurus and vocal coaches and voice teachers, and I've asked them the same question. And it's always, there's always you have to have balance in your life. That goes with anything, anything life related. It's always a balance, and so you learn to know what kind of affects you a little bit. And there are the obvious things like dairy and pizzas and cheeses and things like that.
Is that true, though? But is that true? Because I just started the last couple of months, I cut dairy and gluten out of my diet. And,
Gluten's a great thing to cut out.
But why? Is there an actual, is this just a fad thing, or is there an actual?
Gluten, I think for me, and the same thing, and that's something that I was supposed to do, and in fact I did for about half a year when I first got sick, because I needed to, because I had that extreme situation.
Right. Okay.
But you know what? You can't. If it's against the grain, you just can't. You can't live like a monk, man. I would go past my favorite pizza store, and I'm going in there for 2 squares or a round in a Coke.
But that's dairy and gluten, though. You can't do it. That's dairy and gluten.
I was a closet pizza boy. You just call me closet pizza boy.
Well, now, were you disciplined when you were on the road?
Well, yeah. When on the road, I absolutely did.
Okay. So what did you do?
When towards the end, when things were getting, when the writing was on the wall and I wasn't performing as well as I should have been, then you start going to a tailspin. You start grabbing an extra bottle of wine and an extra beer.
You're picking out.
So that you don't want to do that. Unfortunately, that's what you do.
No, but let's say rewind to your best at your peak vocal performance when you're on the road at your best, at your most disciplined. What were you eating? What you suggested diet for a vocalist? Go.
Okay. Wake up.
That's a good start. You got to wake up.
Coffee.
Decaf coffee.
Oatmeal and fruit for breakfast.
Oatmeal's got gluten, though.
I'm eating it. I got to do it. I'm 50, and I got a heart condition. I get possible heart condition.
No, we're rewinding. We're rewinding 20 years ago. Rewind.
I'm telling you, this is what I did.
Oh, okay.
You had to put something. So fruit
Okay.
and oatmeal.
Fruit and oatmeal. What about
For
yogurt?
lunch, you have a
Nope.
grilled chicken on a bed of greens.
Okay, grilled chicken
Now
salad.
I shouldn't have it, but I had with balsamic and balsamic vinegar and olive oil.
What's wrong with that?
Balsamic vinegar is not good because it's fermented, and it's not good. Ultimately, it could cause indigestion, which could affect your vocal cords.
See, that's good to know.
Say,
because I always
again,
order.
all night.
I eat a lot of salad, and I always choose balsamic vinaigrette. Always.
Yeah, because it's
less.
Because it's a beautiful thing.
Well, not only that, but it's also it's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful.
Well, what you need to do is have them bring it to you. Don't have them put it on, and you just drizzle it and you go light on it.
Because it's either that or the creamy.
As you can, because ultimately you're better off without it. I'm not saying it's going to kill you, but I know and I've heard that it's not the best. So in moderation, everything's in moderation is good.
Well, I have no moderation with food.
I know we're human. That's why. For dinner,
no pasta, right?
You know, you need, if you're going to go before that big show, you need some power. You need. Now, I had some great teachers. They would tell me, Steve, if you haven't eaten and you got to jump on stage and you missed a meal, go grab a slice of bread, eat it, and go do your show.
Right, because of the energy, right?
I guess for the energy, but for you or I who are probably gluten sensitive.
Well, I'm not. I just tried it.
I am, and you're just crazy.
I'm just crazy. Yeah,
you're just a lunatic.
I'm just trying different things.
But that's really great that you cut it out because you're checking all your possibilities.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying that. But so, what would you have?
If you want to be on top, my friend, that's what it takes. But other than that, I just a small meal. It's got to be small meals, and maybe you got to have a little meat. You got to have a little salad and fruit is what I used to do.
But you didn't do dairy when you were singing?
I tried my damnedest not.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. So you would say
before the show and while you're in your good graces, that's what you do.
Okay.
After the show, all bets are off.
Oh shit!
Rocky Road, you stop. The tour bus stops at the.
But that doesn't affect you the next day, though.
Gas station.
But that doesn't affect you if you do that at night. That doesn't affect you the next day for a performance.
Yes, but after a couple of beers, then you have to have the ice cream. Yeah, I need the 16-ounce.
The tailspin.
What's Ben and Jerry's? It was the 16. What was it? Fish food, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't get Rocky Road.
Oh, you're talking my language.
Stay away from that.
Okay.
Whatever you do, don't eat that.
All right. I like this diet. So go breakfast, lunch, and dinner, nice and small, nice and healthy. After the show, groupies, beer, and ice cream. Woo! And pizza. I like it. All right. Well, thank you so much,
Big
Steve.
No.
No. Steve Augeri, thank you so much for being on the Paulie Z show and give me some tips and pointers. So I guess basically the moral of the story is I should continue because I was questioning whether I should continue with my no gluten, no dairy. Because I got to tell you, it's very difficult. It's difficult.
How long has it been and how do you like it?
It's been over 2 months. It's probably about 10 weeks now. I've been pretty good for the most part, about 95% accurate.
Right.
I missed more. I'll tell you what I miss. Yogurt and whole wheat bread, because when you go on the road and stuff, it's like very, very limited to what you can have. And if I can have whole wheat bread, at least I can have a sandwich at 7-Eleven or someplace. And yogurt, because again, yogurt with fruit is a quick, easy snack that I can find places. So I was thinking of maybe reintroducing those things back, and oatmeal, which are healthy things. It's just I've been so strict.
Can you do like the Activa yogurts? Which is good.
They're non-dairy though?
Thing. No, they are, but you know what? They come in a smaller serving, and
I just went to a nutritionist who said that the dairy thing is overrated and it's fine, and my allergist said that too, and then other people say it's not. So I get confused. Like, I'm very impressionable. So if you tell me today, cut out, any food that's the color red, I'd be like, okay.
Well, here's the bottom line, though. You've done it for 2 months, and you either see or you don't see a response, a positive or negative response. I'm
better looking. I look a little better. I'm handsome.
I bet you do. You probably dropped a couple of pounds. I'm going out on the road. I'm starting rehearsals now. I'm in rehearsals, and I'm starting to do shows in September for a release of a new record of mine coming out called In the Moment. And I started rehearsing, and I absolutely cut out all alcohol, and I cut out caffeine, which are probably my 2 biggest offenders.
Right.
And now that has a great effect on me. But I know I have to get back and stop.
You gotta get back in shape. Yeah,
I have to get in
training
with the
mode.
food now.
Well, listen, I got to. I'd love to do this again, and maybe we can go out one day and eat a nice, healthy dinner and like compare notes or something. Or naughty, we can go out, go to a restaurant, and not order anything. All right. Well, Steve, thank you so much again. I hope you enjoyed your time on the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't bore you too much.
No.
Next time we'll talk about fun topics.
No, but this is interesting. It can't always. Some shows are much more, about like fun, lighthearted stuff. Some shows get very, very deep into stuff. I like it all. I like whatever you have to say.
We didn't even get into the colonics and all that kind of stuff.
Well, then we'll have to just do it again. How about
nurses.
that? We'll just have to do it again.
All right.
Paulie,
it's been a pleasure. A lot of fun.
All right, Steve. Thank you so much, man.
Take care, you guys.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Later.
Bye. And there it is. Mr. Steve Augeri getting serious there for a second, and then we're back to lighthearted. I like it. So anyway, speaking of food, I want to do something different today. I want to introduce everybody to a new character on the show. This guy is going to be my Benny boy for food reviews. So at least I have someone to bounce my conversation off of. And his name is Dr. Pastrami, and he's going to join us today for the very first time. And we're going to talk about, pastrami. So you there, Doctor?
Yes. How you doing, Paulie? It's a great day today. It's a great day. Boy, that pastrami, I smell it waffling from Katz's right now as we speak.
People who may not know what you're talking about, Dr. Pastrami lives in New York City, in the Lower East Side, and he's very close to a very famous delicatessen called Katz's Deli, and that's what he's referring to. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today, right, Doctor?
Oh, yes, I'm very excited about that. You catch that southeasterly wind, and you could smell it as far as the South Street Seaport.
Now, Doctor, before we get into this, where did you go to school for your doctorate, for your degree? How did you become a doctor of pastrami?
Well, let me just tell you, if you're looking for a leader in the food army, call Dr. Pastrami.
Oh, my Lord. He's got his own monikers and everything.
Katz's has been around since 1888. And I failed math, but I'm sure that's at least close to 100 years ago.
Oh, yeah. And the cool thing is that they were also, and I didn't really know this until recently, but they were also the ones responsible for that phrase, send a salami to your boy in the army, right, during World War II?
Yes, very popular, very popular. In fact, you can still do that now. And I want to discuss with you today some little-known facts, too, about why some of their leading dish, which is their pastrami sandwich, which I'm sure you know all too well, as I've heard that you'd scarf down 4 of them in a sitting.
I've been known to scarf down food, and pastrami at Katz's is one of my favorites. It's without fries though. Don't forget, don't lead people on. You got to understand that's just the meat, baby, and on rye, not on the freaking hoagie. So
well, it was found out that the dendrites. Again, I didn't do too well in science, but the fluidity of the New York City water that they boil these in, and their special spicing recipe, breaks down the molecular structure of the unpured pastrami. And that's why it's an unknown fact that Katz's is so good, because that's what they boil it and cook it in.
Isn't that the same theory, though, about New York pizza? I've heard that many times, that it's the reason New York pizza is so good is because of the water here.
That's only if you drop it in the sink while cooking it.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. All right. Well, let's get into it here while we got you on the phone, Doctor, because I know you got probably a lot of patients to attend to and stuff to do. So I'm going to pull up my list over here. All my fans know that I keep a list when I go to eat places, and you know that too. I mean, we eat all the time together, and you always see me writing stuff down and taking my little notes. So let's see here. Okay. All right. I'm ready to go. So let me go through my list first, just because this is what I've had. And then you can add to it and tell me if there's stuff that you've had that's not on this list.
Okay.
Now, the good thing about Katz is right here, I can see that I only have stuff to order. On my list, I either write order or don't. Oh, no, actually, no. I shouldn't say that. I see over here, don't order a couple things. So here's what I have. The pastrami is the best, I think, on this planet. Producer seems to disagree. He's a third. What? Second. He's a Second Avenue deli fan. What do you think about that?
There's a theory that because they slice it thinner, that your tongue has more room to wrap around the spices. There is some truth to this, but if you were rating the pure succulent juice quality, Katz's hand down. If you want that pastrami juice running down your chin, you have to go to Katz's.
I agree. I think I mean, I haven't been. You know what? I have to go to Second Avenue. Well, yeah, we'll go and then we'll have to test. And I think Man vs. Food, didn't they do an episode where they challenged it and Katz's won?
It was actually called Food Wars, and Katz's won barely. But that's the concept, and I have yet to try that. There might be some validity to that.
Well, we should go.
Just from a physical, molecular theory.
Well, here's the thing. I know for a fact that that's true because I'll tell you, and I'm sure a lot of people can agree with me, and I know Dave and Joe are definitely with me on this. When I go to the deli and I order, if I get like a quarter pound or a half pound of ham or turkey, it has to be thin, like super. I tell them super thin slices because if it's very thin, there's something about the texture and like you said, like maybe the air or whatever tastes amazing. But if it's a thick piece, I actually would throw up. I couldn't eat it. Like if it was a little thick piece of ham, turkey, not as much, but the ham, like boar's head ham, I couldn't do it.
Well, what has to happen in order to slice it that thin is it has to be lean. And I don't know if you know, I think in the 80s, I think an old man actually choked to death.
No.
They have a very elderly clientele. Don't quote me on that, but I think they make it very lean. Now, I think you lose something in that because with Katz's pastrami, each piece is individually unique, where some might have more of a fat content. And when you bite into it, the bursting of the fat juices is what comes up.
Right.
When everything is so uniformed and sliced so thin, you are not getting a distinct variation in by bite by bite. So where it might get you for the first bite, I think it's going to lose you by the end of the sandwich.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing with Katz's is their slices are definitely thick, but for some reason they're just so juicy and it's got the little fat on it that I think it would probably not be as good if it was thin. I think you're right. I agree with you. So so let me go through my list real quick. The pastrami on rye, potato pancakes. I think probably the best I've ever had, maybe with the exception of like a homemade one.
Right.
The hot dogs are great. The chopped liver is great. The French fries, which I'm not a big steak fry guy. I really don't like steak fries, like thick potato kind of steak fries. I like usually seasoned or thinner ones. But their fries are really good. I don't know what they do to them, but they're very good. The matzo ball soup is excellent. And then the only two things I have not to order, and then I'd like to hear your opinion on all this, is I don't like, and I know this sounds crazy, I don't really love the corned beef, and I don't love the brisket. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I would say my list, I'm going to comment on that, but my list of what not to order is the hamburger, especially when I've sat at the table service. I don't even know why somebody would walk in there and buy a hamburger, which is leading me to investigate one of the next time as an alternative for anybody that is deli intolerant, that they try the Katz's homemade beef stew. So I have something to recommend to them. But people who didn't want deli and tried the hamburger, it's something I could, I wouldn't say get out of McDonald's, but it's just, I don't even know why somebody
not worth
bought it.
No, right. I mean, I feel the same way when I went to Peter Luger's and I heard their burger. I went and I got the burger just to try it, and same thing. It was like, it wasn't bad, but it was like, what's the point? I don't get it.
Well, it's just like some people are lactose intolerant. Some people are actually deli meat intolerant. If not, I just coined my own disease.
Are you coming up with ailments right now?
Yeah. But that's what I would say. And I would also like to comment on what you said as an alternative to fries also. You mentioned the potato pancakes, which are great. But I also had the pleasure of eating a potato salad.
Oh, I never had it.
And let me tell you, they got a little bit of they must have like somebody from down south in the back making it. I was very impressed. I thought it was, sometimes potato salad could be very bland and chunky.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Well, how would you describe it? Give me a 10-second description, flavor, texture, all that. Go ahead.
Mom's Mabley meets Golda Meir.
All right, now explain it in 10 seconds so that people can understand.
Chunky, creamy.
Say it
a
in
little
English.
bit of
Okay.
peppery taste to it.
Peppery.
And you don't
okay.
think you're going to get this from there. You think you're going to get some bland, Pathmark type of potato salad.
Definitely. That would be my first impression. You know what's funny? I haven't done this so long, but growing up, I actually used to put paprika on my potato salad, and I don't really see people do that. And that was something my mom and my dad were
Eastern
kind of
European.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So that is something that people do.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know because I never saw anybody else do it, and I always loved it, and I haven't done it since. It was only when I was a kid.
Oh, it definitely works on it. And I would like to comment on what you said about the corned beef. Yes, I always having, and here's another point also tied into this, having to spend $15. I'm going to round it up. It's $14.95 for a sandwich. And if I had to choose, I would not choose the corned beef over the pastrami. It's good,
Right.
but it doesn't blow me away as the pastrami. But I recently came from some so-called 4-star restaurants. Found myself 2 in the morning. I think you might relate to this story.
Yeah.
Sucking down some pastrami slivers because I was just not happy with
Wait,
this
that was
so-called
me.
4-star.
Wasn't that I was with you?
Yes,
Wasn't that the?
I don't know if you wanted the public to know about that late night debauchery.
Of course. Are you crazy? That's the whole point of this. We were at the Palm, I think it was, and we had the,
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to mention names, but yes, very disappointed. And they are a 4-star restaurant. And the reason I bring that up is because if you have a pastrami, when people go in there, they get so appalled. Oh, it's $15 for a sandwich. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Well, let me tell you, you get that and a fries and a drink for $25. You walk out of there satisfied.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas you can spend $65 and walk out of there unsatisfied.
Yes, I agree. And that is worth. And that's the thing. It's not about the money. It's about, is it worth the money? And I agree with you. I think Katz's is worth every penny. I know people are like, I would never spend that much on a sandwich. I said, yeah, but you know what? You'd go spend, I don't know, how much is a pack of cigarettes? Fucking $8, $11 for a fucking pack of cigarettes. So that you'd spend money on, you know what I mean? Or you spend on a beer. How much is a beer? $10? No. At a bar, $10 for a beer? $9? Oh, that's crazy. See what I mean? Like that doesn't make sense to me. And I agree with you. But I think it's because when you go into Katz's, it's the same as Peter Luger's. I think the atmosphere throws people off. You walk in and it looks like it should be cheaper, because it's not fancy schmancy. You know, you go to the Palm and you feel like, oh, okay, it's going to be, it's, you know, the money kind of coincides with the environment, but the food doesn't always. Unfortunately, the food doesn't always live up. And that, to me, at the end of the day, I would say is the most important thing. Wouldn't you agree, Doctor?
Oh, I agree.
Do you concur?
I concur. And I also sometimes go in there and pick out on the 3-meat platter.
Oh, I never did that.
Yes, I just tell them to give me the meat, give me some bread, and let me go for it.
Well, you know what? I don't do that just because, like I said, I don't. For me, nothing else is, unless I went there. So you live close to there, but I don't get there enough that it's worth it for me to walk in and get anything other than pastrami. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what I do. I tell them to give me 2 piles of pastrami and 1 of brisket.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Did you go? We went to what's it called? Hill Country. Remember we went there? And do you remember their brisket? What did you think of their brisket?
Their brisket is made with that cedar wood, and it's a different kind of curing to it. This brisket is more like deli brisket. As briskets go, it's pretty good. Actually, they say the tongue is pretty good, but eating anything that comes out of a cow's mouth, I'm not too excited about.
Well, yeah, I mean,
could get over that maybe. I'm not sure.
I don't. I like the Hill Country type of brisket better. See, I'm not a deli brisket kind of guy, but anyway, I think it's safe to say that Katz's is, you know, it definitely, if not the best, at least we think it is. My producer extraordinaire disagrees, but if it's not the best, it's definitely at least one of the best in the world.
It would be nice to somehow simultaneously get a hot Katz's and a hot Second Avenue or Carnegie Deli sandwich simultaneously, and try this out in either a blind test,
yes,
or not, to see if my own opinions stand up in my own taste buds.
We could probably do that. We could do that. I don't think it would be that hard. We'd just have to have like you at one place, me at the other place, and get like a sandwich each, and then split the sandwiches so that we have 4 halves. And we
meet on Houston Street or meet on like 5th Street and just go for it.
Yeah, and then we just each have 1/2 of, the Cats and 1/2 of 2nd Avenue, and then we write down and we say, okay, this one was better than that one. Right?
All right. Well, I definitely, I would say if anyone visiting this, anyone hearing this podcast in any one of the other countries and nations of the world, make Cats as one of your stops on your New York City visiting itinerary.
Definitely.
Because you will never forget about it.
All right. Well, Dr. Pastrami, thank you so much for your years of wisdom and knowledge in the field of culinary arts. And we look forward to having you on again. I'm sure the people, I implore my fans to email me and let me know if this was helpful to have someone else to talk to about the food. I can't imagine it not being better, because obviously to have another opinion is great. And that's all. So, Doctor, thank you so much.
Thank you, Paulie Z. Remember, if you're looking for a leader in the food army, call Dr. Pastrami.
Okay. I don't think I can forget that, even if I wanted to.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you later, Doc.
Bye.
So the doctor has made his first house call into the Paulie Z show and shared his wisdom with us. And I hope you guys like that, because for me, it's a lot better to be able to, again, to talk to someone else instead of just talking to myself. Okay, so now I have neglected the Yo Paulies, and I apologize for that. It's sometimes I get so wrapped up in the conversations. But today I'm going to answer a few emails. So let's go real quickly through this. We got one from Jeanette McConchie. I don't know if I said it right. Jeanette McConchie, she says, "Hey, Paulie, it's Jeanette from Atlanta. Met you and your dad at the Highline Ballroom on June 16th when you opened for Constantine. Today is also my birthday, so happy birthday to Dave." Oh, this was a while ago. This is an older one when we were doing David's birthday show. I like the song Stronger from Casino Logic. Any story you want to share about that song? Well, real quickly, it was basically, you can read into it whatever you want, whatever makes sense for you. But for me, it was based on an ex-girlfriend that I had that we were going hot and heavy, and we had an open relationship. We were just kind of doing our own thing. And when we were together, we were together. And when we weren't, we weren't. But we were pretty much, only dating each other and then just kind of like messing around on the side. And what had happened was she was a dancer, and she went away for a while, and I just stopped hearing from her. She kind of like just stopped communication, which drove me crazy, because it's like, I don't give a shit if you're breaking up with me, but just tell me. And I didn't do anything wrong. I don't know what was going on. So I didn't know if maybe she met another guy while she was messing around, whatever. And basically, I kind of wrote her a real big letter, email, and it's just like, this is, childish and disrespectful, blah, blah, blah. And finally, I heard back from her. She was really sorry. She was really apologetic. And she's like, it's like, I just didn't know what else to say. And just she actually said, "You're too good for me right now, because I'm not looking for a relationship, and you're someone that I can kind of like fall in love with, and I really don't want to do that because I'm concentrating on my career." So I got broken up with because I was too good. Too good, Jerry. Too good. But anyway, that there was a month or so where I didn't know what was going on, and that's what the song was kind of about, because it was about having closure, and finally, once you get that closure, just being, coming out on top and being stronger. So there you go. So now you got to some intimate details into my my life there. Okay, that was a long time ago too. Okay, here we go. Paul Kostrua. Kostziwa. Okay. I just listened to episode 5 where you talked about the prime rib at El Cid and got me thinking. I have 2 questions for you. First, is it ever acceptable to get beef done more than medium? No! Not acceptable. There you go. Places like Red Robin refuse to make me a medium rare burger for reasons of safety. Can I just sign a waiver? I don't know about you, but I can't choke down anything even closely resembling well done. I agree. I grew up with well done because that's the way my mom made it for my dad. That's the way he likes it. And once I discovered medium rare, I just never went back. And I agree with you that it should be actually, I think, illegal to cook anything over medium. So that's my 2 cents on that. Second, if you have to put a Heinz A1 or Heinz 57 on a steak. Isn't that a sign that you got a jacked up steak? Myself, I like the taste of pure meat. What's your take? All right. So anyway, that's a good question. I grew up as a sauce guy, ribs and stuff. Everything had to have sauce on it. And then more and more as my taste buds mature, I've been appreciating dry rub and the natural flavor of the meat. So I think I agree with you that I think the natural flavor is the better flavor, but I think it's a maturity kind of thing. You know, you grow up. It's like dressing. You know what I mean? Like I was telling Steve that I do balsamic now, which to me is a little bit more of just a more a classy dressing than, let's say, ranch, you know what I mean, or Thousand Island, which is much more when I was like in junior high school. So yeah, I would probably just have the meat. I don't put anything on my filet mignon or my ribs or stuff. But growing up, I did. You know, I drenched everything in sauce and whatever I could find. So let's do one more. This is from Benz61. I know who this person is, one of our fans. And this one, I can't start off this email with a yo. I'm starting this off with a very disappointing Paulie, heavy with disappointment. I read this earlier, and I know what she's talking about. She's basically, because it's a long email, she's basically was kind of upset because I pronounced Zeppelin's song Dire Maker. I said Dire Maker in I don't know if it was the last podcast or the one before that, whatever. And she's really upset because she's like, seriously, Dire Maker? Please tell me if this was a slip of the tongue and you know the correct way to pronounce the song. No, the honest truth is I never knew the correct way. I just read it, said it the way it was spelled, and that's, you know, what am I going to say? That's how I thought it was. And I asked a few people about it, and they said the same thing. They're like, Dire Maker, no? And I was like, I guess not. So I found out that, correct me if I'm wrong, but she told me it's Jamaica, basically. It's just the sort of phonetic way that the British say the word Jamaica. And that's what it is. So the song is Jamaica, and if I'm still saying it wrong, and it's Jamaica or whatever it is, just write me back with a nice disappointing email, and I'll correct myself. Okay? But thank you for teaching me that, because now I will know. And then next time, I can make fun of someone else if they get it wrong. I'll be like, how did you not know that it was pronounced Jamaica, you stupid idiot? All right. Anyway, that is all. I'm sorry we're running out of time, so I have to go. Go to thepoliezshow.com or go to iTunes to download the podcast for free. And you can follow my Twitter, which is twitter.com/ZO2Paulie. And our website is ZO2.com. All right? And if you're going to email me and if I pronounce anything else wrong or with any incorrect accents, just email me at yopaulie@thepoliezshow.com. All right, that is all for this episode. Later.